Hello everyone, my name is Erika, and in today's stream we will be continuing the girl that I've been rigging in the past two streams. Hopefully we will also finish this rig. So last time we had concluded the stream with this sort of movement, and today hopefully we'll be completing this by adding the movement of the skirt, some movement here for the swing, so we complete something also a bit more complex, and maybe we'll do a testing animation, and then we can also add movement and complete the rig with some 3D-ness, thick 3D on the face. I think first I will try to create a mesh for the skirt. I actually want this part of the skirt to rotate and bounce a little bit. And for that, I don't want her to detach from everything, and I don't think I will remove this character from this. So I think I can directly parent the skirt to this. So I'll be selecting the image of the skirt here and create a control like this so that it can bounce around in a lower position than that, so more at this height. Yeah. And then on this side, I'll try by first parenting it to this back control. I'll try to create this more or less like this, and perhaps I'll add a sub bone to control the underskirt that is here so that it can bounce around and have some detachment. It's just like the one that I did on the mix and match example project. Okay, the thing that I was referring to was this skirt setup that I have here. It could do this, and it had a control to also detach this part that is under with all the lace. We're gonna have something similar here. I don't want this part to detach too much. Maybe I'll add some vertical movement, horizontal movement, just to get that sort of effect. I'll create another control. Let's actually create the mesh for the skirt. I'll edit the mesh and trace it. I don't mind this tracing result. It even has the 3 sections, which is great. 1, 2, 3, it's perfect. Okay, I think I'm gonna accept this. I think I'll add some additional vertices, especially in the area that I would like to move the most, which is gonna be, of course, where I created my controls. A good structure for these follows the lines of the drawing, so that's the logic that I will be using. I'll be doing something like this. Okay, this part is gonna be the most firm, and then I'll probably slice this a tad more. Okay, so always following the lines in the drawing. I'll go in a conservative approach at first, and then I'll see if I should add more vertices, because in any case the spine will automatically calculate the weights for me afterwards. Perhaps I'll add one here and one here, so I have some straight lines. Plus it has the advantage that maybe I can get this part of the skirt to feel more connected to the upper part of the body, which I got to rotate a little bit. I'll bind to the skirt. Okay, the parts that should control the skirt should be this part, and then this side, and maybe also this bone, because I want kinda to anchor this part to this bone specifically, so I think that I'll also add that one. Of course, spine can only automatically weight the bones that overlap with my mesh, so this bone was completely ignored, whereas the ones that were overlapping with the mesh got calculated correctly. Okay, when everything is in this direction. Okay, we see this kind of wreckage because I did not create the structure for the underskirt and I did not weight it, but that's not an issue, we're gonna fix that. So I'll get that to rotate this way, okay, until the legs are there, and again here, and then in the opposite direction, following the rest. I'll trace here, so I'm gonna accept whatever result there was, and instead I'm gonna create the vertices to go in myself, because I want to make sure that this part is a tad separated so I can anchor it in place. And I'm just gonna randomly weight it to this bone, which luckily overlaps a little bit, and actually not the one of the skirt, but this, and this for the underskirt, so they are controlled by that. I also have to create the mesh for this back part of the underskirt. I'll trace it once again. Okay, I'll remove this extra vertex, I'll modify this so it's a tad lower, here and bind this to the respective bones. Let's go in animate mode, and now it's not going as crazy as before anymore. So first of all, this part for sure needs to be anchored to the body, so let's anchor that. Then this part is also too strong, and I can select both at the same time and change the weights for the body at the same time, because more or less I know that I want to have similar weights in that area. Then we said that here, what we actually want is for this bench bone to have the most influence. So I'll get also this and this to have more bench influence. So it gets to curve a little bit better, but I think that the curve that I need the most is obtained by adding a few more vertices in that area there, because it's where the most of the bending is happening. So I think it really could help the bending there. Let's see. Before and after. Okay, something like this. So when it's in its most compressed state, this one, it's looking a little bit better. Okay, I'll raise maybe body down a little bit here and like this. And so when compressed the most, it will look like this. Okay, here is where it's extended the most. Let's get it in the opposite state. And maybe it behaves like this. Okay, let's see how it deforms now. And that could be an option. All right, let's test this using the physics constraints. New physics constraints. Well, they are working pretty much the same as the other ones. They all move at the same speeds. Plus, we notice that these two bones of the underskirt are not moving because they are null bones. So instead of rotation, we should turn the translation. Let's see what happens when I turn it on the maximum. Maybe I'll get it to be like this. Let's see. The dumping is fine, probably. More strength. Okay, and I was thinking for the skirt to give it slightly more inertia and to give it less, more damping. Okay, so it opens a bit more, it's a bit more flowy. Yeah, I think this is working. So I have to add slightly more arm front influence for these. Then if I'm doing that, it means that I also have to add a little bit of this influence to the skirt, which means binding it also to that same bone. I'm gonna add the same amount of influence. Let's see. Okay, now I have the problem that it detaches in the higher part here. Okay, there's a little bit that detaches. So let's see if I can fix this by raising the influence or if it generates more problems. No, it's actually working. I think I'm gonna add a little bit of this influence also here, just so slightly. The ideal situation would actually also add a little bit of this influence here. Okay, then there's the Phantom Spine logo that is detached from everything else. I think I should also fix that one, yeah. Mesh, bind, and I'll bind it to these same two bones. Maybe also this one never knows. First I need to anchor it in place by finding the right balance between these two. Okay, as long as it is attached on one side, it's gonna be easy to also figure out the other side. So now I'll get it to be in place. That was quick and sweet. I will need to get this rope to be a mesh, and I'll generate the subdivisions like this. Okay, I'll take 50. Let's do also on this side, edit the mesh, and I'll generate 50 of these. 50 it is. Awesome. Then I will need to weight them, and for these I created the bones, one here and one is gonna be the bench itself, so it doesn't detach too much from that. So I'll bind this first here, then here, and same here. On this side, this one bench too, yes. Well, I don't really need to have a testing animation for this. It's enough to like get half of these to be influenced and then to kind of smooth these until it cannot be smoothed anymore. It just requires tons of clicking. Yeah, I think it doesn't go further than this. So I'll do the same operation also on this side. Half of these influenced by the bench. Everything except the two extremes. And then I smooth. Alright! Then let's actually add the automatic movement also here. So I have bench 2 perfect. I'll create my new physics constraint. With this, I definitely need the translation and to turn off rotation. I definitely can have more exaggerate settings for these. So let's open it here, and especially, oh, okay, I forgot this one. Let's also get it to do more. I wonder if they have the right order, because they are kind of, let's see. Let's focus on the face now. I wanted to create here the rig for the face, and then get the face to also have a little bit of movement. I can also get it to blink and be animated a little bit more, which wouldn't hurt. Okay, so for this, I will apply the classic structure that I apply to faces. So I'll be creating, for example, a mesh for these. Let's trace. Then I for sure want to mark the places on the face, the middle, the side, okay, the limits of the face. They are going to help me. I don't need anything too extra because I separated most of these parts. I'm gonna see if this is gonna work or if it requires further vertices. I'm trying to be conservative. Then on the face, I have several face parts. I'm gonna create the bones for these. So bones need to be parented first to the face, and I will create in the middle of the eyes, more or less here, the face holder. There we go. I'm going to parent to that the mouth. I don't need to move the noses separately from the rest. So because of these, I think all of these nose parts that I created, I'm just gonna parent to the nose, okay, to the face holder. Probably it's gonna be enough. Or maybe even to the face control, I'm not sure. Then, as a child of the face holder, I want to have the controls for the eyes. I like to sector them first by adding an eye control like this, and then the control for the pupil, and then reselecting the eye control, something to open and close the top. Actually, I want it more centered on the very top here, okay? And something to also control the bottom. Then she has no eyebrows, so there is no eyebrow to read. Fantastic. I'll also replicate this same setup, maybe by changing the icons at least. I'm not changing the colors lately. I'm leaving everything gray. I'll create one now, a transform constraint that connects this control with this, and then one that connects this with the various features of the head. So first of all, I'll select the back one, for which I'll change the icon to this. I already set it red and a bit transparent. And then new transform constraint, I'll target this. And I'll call this head control. Match, and then set everything to -100, -100. That is the key of creating a face control. Then on this one, I'll set it to be an intermediate weight. So new transform constraint, I'll target this. Face control is fine. Match. And I'll set the translation maybe to, I don't know, 75 or even 80% because her nose is not too long. Yeah, let's set it to 80%. So the maximum distance is not too distant. I'll start rotating in every direction, everything. Okay, so if I want the face to move with it, I for sure need to bind the face to this part, maybe the face control, maybe the part in the back. I'm not sure I'm gonna use them all. Now it's melting, the face is melting. Okay, first I'll zero it out on the part that it's not moving. A general rule of thumb is to give this part that is supposed to follow the face maximum face influence. More or less, the face is gonna rotate around the ear, so it makes sense to actually have slightly more influence there. Okay, also with less vertices, the result is not terrible, so I'm actually happy about that. What about the fringe here? I think I may be able to parent this fringe part to the face control so it moves with it because it's more or less at the same distance. Then the weights here are set to stay with the face itself. But we could actually get this part to use the new bone for the face holder that I created. So I'll bind it to the face holder, and same thing for this part here. Face holder it is. I wonder what happens if I get this bone to also be parented to the front of the face, and then maybe I just add a little bit of inverse influence here in the back. Then I'm gonna be swapping the weights that I was using for the face with face holder. Okay, so now it is rotating to the maximum. Of course, this part here should not be influenced by the face in the front so much. So I'm gonna get an in-between weight instead. Something that looks a bit curved, possibly. Okay, this one too is influenced too much by that, so I'm gonna add also here the face holder and swap face holder. And then I'll get this to curve by adding more face influence so it feels attached to that other part. And then maybe I lock the fringe side front so it's not moving. All of these new features that come from Spine 4.1 onwards. And I'm gonna add more face influence instead. Then in back here, I'm gonna add more influence. I'm gonna lock fringe side back too. And here I'll get instead more of face holder, so it rotates a bit. And here I said I wanted that part to be influenced a tad more by the part in the back. Also, I wonder if I should get this part of the face to be influenced a bit more like this. Also get this part of the hair to be connected to the back of the face. I am thinking that maybe it's not necessary to have a full minus 100 because I don't want all of these parts to rotate so much in the back. So for the face inverse, for the first time in forever, I'm gonna be setting this to maybe minus 50 instead. So it kind of moves the most in the front and a little bit less in the back. Yeah, so it does this. So maybe I can safely parent this bone and the hair in the back like this. Oh, so they move a little bit. I think I need to get the ear to also move. I cannot leave it like that. So let's turn the ear into a mesh. Let's bind it to the face, face control, face in the back. Okay, so I have all the bindings necessary. And then let's get it to move. First, I'll get it to be more on face holder. Face holder is too strong, so I'll get it to be more like this. For the part in the back, I'll actually remove face and instead add directly face inverse. So I'm gonna reparent it to just the head. And instead I'm gonna turn these and these into meshes and get a little bit of that effect on them. So I'll bind them to the back and face holder. Maybe also the hat would make sense, so they are controlled by the hat. And then I'll get this part to be influenced a little bit by face inverse. Just a little bit, so it's like 27%. And then maybe I do the same also here on this part. And then maybe here I'll get it to be slightly on this part. Of course, I'm not gonna rotate this much the head in the end. Also, I wanted to create here the various controls for the nose. So all of these now are gonna be meshes. And I'm gonna bind them here and here. I'll start with this that is the main image, the one that I care the most about. And I'll get this to feel more attached, like this. 38, maybe 40. Let's go with 40, I like round numbers. Then let's get, okay, this part here needs way more face control because it's, okay, moving the most. Then here, I'm gonna get this to be influenced a tad more by the face holder. Okay, and then there's the shadow under the nose that is kind of not matching, so I think for that I will after all add a vertex here so I can control that and give it more face control is the one that I need. Okay, that distorts a little bit this part here, so I guess I have to separate it a little bit. Maybe, okay, with this little trick. Yeah, that works. I love that I only had to change like one line. Just for fun, I added a little physics constraint on the face. I think I'll try to replicate that. I want to see what happens. Okay, looks like because it is applied last, it broke everything. So once again, I will ask the powerful reset button to calculate the right order for me. Okay, clearly it is too strong, it's creating this weird effect. But if tuned down, I think it can work very nicely. So let's try that. Let's go to the preview view. Look at that, scary. Okay, let's go to not underskirt, not chest control, face control, there it is. Okay, definitely I can get the face to only be influenced a little bit. Okay, so it's tiny movement, maybe more movement, but less inertia. Okay, slightly less inertia. That's good, now it's all working. I would maybe get the hands to move a little bit better. I will weight them to the same parts that I have here and call it a day. That's what I have decided. I don't care that they do not detach. I want them parented here. Mesh, bind, this, and then I'll get them to work. Same for this part. Mesh, bind to these two. Same here, I want to actually bind this to also this part, and also here in case they are not going to work. I'll try to move the bench to a different position and make sure that the arms are gonna follow by adding the strength to get it in place correctly. Same here, strength. Okay, now they are positioned nicely. Then this also needs more bench influence. There we go. Then here, instead of this, I will also add a little bit of rope back influence, so they are connected. Also here. It's horrible, just the way I like it. Okay, I think I do not need to do what I did here. I don't need this. Yes, that is working. Okay. Wonder if I should add a bone that rotates the whole bench instead of this thing. So we could try out also different setups for this. I'll create as a child of the cloud the middle bone that will control this bench. Okay, that ends here. Maybe I could split it into two nested bones Fibonacci, and then I'll parent this bench to the second bone here so it rotates with it, and then I'll select these two and have the physics constraint. Oh, now it's rotating more like that sort of swing. Maybe all I actually want is for also this bit here to also be influenced. That could be the case, could be the missing piece. New physics constraint, slightly less rotation, let's see now. Okay, body down. If I get it to rotate to the maximum. But definitely with less inertia. So I have arrived at a point where I'm happy with this, and I think I'll just experiment in trying to create some animation. Okay, I said that I wanted her to be able to open and close the eyes, so now I'll work on that. So I'll create a mesh for these, more details so it goes also inside. I also need one on the other side here. I'll also need to turn this into a mesh. So a thing I forgot to do is the eyelid parts covering this. So I'll have to hide the eye or kind of squash it to get the eye blink to work. So now I'll create an eye blink animation. When I do an eye blink, I usually get the two upper eyes to reach the lacrimal duct, and then I raise this so they kind of meet. Okay, so I'll bind this so it follows the eye and this upper part. Here, the weight will need to be mostly on this eyelash. Here, they will need to be mostly on the down part. If it doesn't make too much sense, it's gonna be clear if once I go back. I'll just create the missing keys, paste them here. Okay. Now I'll apply some curves. Okay, and the blinking is happening like this. So I guess I can simulate that by selecting the pupils that I have here and getting them to scale and scale them down like this. And also translate them so they are here, so they are not as visible. Without the bones, it looks kind of like this. I'll get that idling animation. So I'll call this idle. And she's gonna flap the wings so I can combine it with the rest. Or maybe it starts more up. Yeah. More up. And scaled slightly up. So they're the same size. And then they go down. Let's see if I turn off the simulation. Okay, it's the usual sort of animation. Okay, so I just offset these two. Okay, and it starts looking like it's flapping wings. Then I can turn on the simulation again, and it's even bouncier now. And then maybe I'll make her breathe, which is achieved simply by translating here the bone up and down. If I also add shoulder controls, then it looks even better. I think it needs to be translated slightly less up. Oh, what did I do? Yeah, it needs to breathe slower. To make her breathe slower, it means that I will have to copy and paste these all twice. Okay, now she is actually breathing more like a normal person. Cool. Then maybe sometimes she could eye blink, and if hopefully this is combined in the preview with this animation, eye blink. Now she is flapping the wings while everything is moving here. Then sometimes she could eye blink. Now she is doing it continuously, which is a bit creepy. So perhaps I'll create a copy of this that is the eye blink long, which simply has an extra key far in the future. Let's see, maybe here, save. Okay, sometimes she will blink at some point. Oh yes, the blink is low. Why is it so slow? Let's make it faster. What about now? Yeah, much better. Is the speed normal? Yes, it is. Okay, now it all looks nice. I guess a better wing flap would have been one that instead of doing this, would have been doing the wings opening and closing instead. So more doing this sort of scaling action. And also, I think I'm gonna attempt that, just for the fans of it, just to do something slightly different. I never tried this, so it's interesting. I'll delete the keys. Let's see. I'm gonna key, however, the rotation and translation, and then I'll get a very slow wing flap for the moment. Okay, the second pose that I want is rotating this like this, and the other wing up, but also scaling it up. It's more like a butterfly this way. Let's apply curves, and then somehow these parts also need to be flapping a little bit. If that's the case, then that means that I have to copy these, paste it here. These two need to be not offset but anticipated. So it does this, and then it straightens. And then it goes down in the opposite direction, more like this, more open and proud, but faster. What is happening on the back wing is not making me happy. Okay, it needs to be scaled in perspective if I want this to be correct, and maybe rotated like this, so it looks more believable. And when it goes down, it is again a tad bigger than this. rotate it maybe more inwards. Oh, finally, something better. Okay, and now it's doing this sort of motion. So we had this before, and now we're getting it to rotate in perspective, which is a bit different. Okay, so we have seen that all these animations can also be combined with the physics. I'll get another kind of idol, where she's also moving the feet. I don't know. I wanted to see this going. Oh, nice. And it's following physics! Yay! Maybe I get the feet to move a little less than that though. It's when they are up, I think they should be less up. So I'm selecting all of these keys, adjusting, and then I'll get them to be less, maybe 45 degrees. So they still move, but not as much. Okay, apply curves, offset the second one like this. Okay, maybe I'll come up with some other animation, but as far as the rigging part goes, this is it for the stream, and I think for this project. Thank you so much for joining this stream and following until now. So this concludes the cycle on this kind of character. I hope that you found this kind of rigging and this sort of video helpful. If so, please leave a comment in the video so we know that you want to see more videos like this. So feel also free to comment on what sort of objects or what sort of projects you would like me to see do on stream. Thank you again, and I will see you next time.